Okay, so Lisa McPherson, the reorganization of the organizations and real estate is basically where the church is at now. And Miscavige has basically worked out a system where about every 10 to 15 years, he repackages the entire body of materials that they have released and says, we repackaged it and we made all these changes in it because this is what L. Ron Hubbard actually wanted. And the people who didn't do this screwed up all of his instructions, and I came in and sorted it all out, and I figured it out. And here's the new repackaged, wonderful bridge to total freedom. And now there are no stops, and you can go from zero to hero in very short order, and just give us $100,000 and you'll be set, right? And this is kind of how Miscavige has kept the Scientology side of this whole thing going all of this time. And he did it in 1998 when they did their first repackaging. They did it again in 1996. They did it again in 2004. And then they did it again in 2012. So yeah, 8 to 10, years or so between these things. And that's just how he keeps it going internally. And somehow it continued to roll forward. They have lost more people than they have gained over this time. It is a shrinking situation. But as long as they have big donors, and they do have millionaires and even, higher people get involved in Scientology, and those people throw money at it like crazy, and they get great big trophies in return and lots of photo ops with David Miscavige and, VIP treatment when they go to Clearwater. And so they're happy with their Scientology, and that's all they want to know about it. And so that's all they do that's as far as they go into it. They don't watch South Park. They don't watch Going Clear. They don't look at Leah's show, because they know that that's all just a bunch of lies on the internet, quote unquote. And they're happy with their Scientology. So that's what they do, and somehow they keeps the con going that way. And that is modern Scientology now.
Yeah, a couple other things that just come to mind. I am thinking about there is a culture of VIP elite Mormonism that starts with the apostles and then the general authorities and all the auxiliary leaders of the church, and then their friends and family. And there are all sorts of people that make money off of the various ways that the church spends or invests money, and so there's this. You wonder how it doesn't unravel. But there's this huge centralized core culture of people who are either controlling the church or who work for organizations that depend on the church or that fund the church or that, the church gives favors to. And then there's this whole culture of we'll build a temple in Italy so that rich, wealthy Mormons can go visit Italy and have this beautiful experience. Or, we talked to you last time about the second endowment culture, where if you're wealthy enough and prestigious enough and faithful enough, the church will give you access to this special temple ceremony that no one else gets.
Yeah. And
of course, it's tied to how much money you've paid and how much power and influence. And of course, Utah's becoming extremely prosperous business-wise. All these software companies are springing up. You have all these multi-level marketing firms that are massive. And what you see is that the church helps these corporations succeed, and then these corporations pay big tithings back to the church. And even if the leaders sometimes themselves, the CEOs of these software companies or, the MLMs, whatever they do in private is kind of their business. But there's this real symbiotic relationship of, benefiting from the church, but then loyalty to the church that creates this massive cash machine,
Oh, huge. And paralleled completely in Scientology by an organization called the World Institute of Scientology Enterprises, or WISE. And that's a division of the Church of Scientology. It's formally part of their structure, but it is a secular arm, so to speak, in that they have secularized Hubbard's administrative and management policies. And they have put them into binders and books. And they say, this is how you should run your company. Just like L. Ron Hubbard says we should be running our churches, That's how you should be running your company, with statistics and 3-basket systems on every people's desks, and an ethics system, and a this and a that and another thing. And of course, this is so, thrivingly successful that Scientology churches are booming everywhere. So of course, this is the model to use. Not, but Scientology business people and folks who get involved in Scientology who want to get rich think this is the way to do it, and they pay the church for the right to use this materials, and they network. There's all kinds of networking going on between business people within the Scientology world. Lots of tit for tat. And a lot of people getting rich on the backs of employees that they abuse and treat very badly and pay very badly. And a lot of commission system-based pay systems and stuff like that. So they're really, really, they kind of set up these businesses that look just like Scientology organizations, except they're not, except they're for-profit companies. And the guys at the very, very top are getting enriched, and everybody else is just struggling to get by. All oddly similarly, run on an MLM type basis of, well, the harder you work, the more money you'll make. Right? This is how Scientology staff members are also conned. Is it's all on you how much money the church makes, and their pay on a week-to-week basis at the churches is based on a small percentage of the overall profit that the organization makes that week. So if the organization doesn't make any money that week, or doesn't make enough, then they don't get paid. And well, it's on you. You didn't work hard enough, and that's kind of how that whole operation is continuing to go on. So they have a very low overhead of having to pay their employees, you see,
right,
within the church. And even the Sea Org members can only make a max of 50 or let's say $100 a week. So
right.
the church does not have to pay out that much for all this labor that it's getting. And it spreads this idea out into the business world as though this is a really great idea, and this is the foundation on which you should build a successful business. And it propagates itself that way. And the guys at the top of these businesses who are raking in the bucks think it's great. And they, of course, give money back to the church as a result of that. And that whole thing is a big part of what keeps Scientology going too.